Fran Fitzgerald sparks a conversation about a 24-second shot clock needing to be implemented. And I think he was speaking mostly to college basketball in the United States, but maybe expanding a little bit more on that is what you and I want to do. We got into this really long conversation at 11:30, 12:30 at night, which is what we tend to do at least once or twice a week about basketball. I was a proponent of this idea. You were a little bit more hesitant for it. I just think if you do this, kids are going to adapt and kids are going to eventually become more skilled, and the game is going to become more entertaining to watch because it's going to be a more entertaining brand where the ball doesn't stick. You don't have as many ISO situations where you're going to have passing, you're going to have players more skilled getting to the basket. It's just going to be it's going to be a game that's played the way basketball was designed to be played. And when it's really entertaining, it's played that way. And I think your big concern with it is like, why would America change? We're already the shit. Why would we change? We win the gold medal and everything. So why are you against this?
Yeah, I'm against it for a few reasons. Well, one, to me, this reemphasized a fundamental core difference between me and you. Like, I'm a pretty easily satisfiable guy. Like, the big question was like, for me, my big question to you was, we love college basketball. We watch it all the time. Like, it's all we talk about. Yes, we have concerns with it, and yes, there's ways to make it better. But like, I don't think at any point was I like, man, like the shot selection is killing me, or there's too many possessions. Like for me, that wasn't one of my concerns. Like I love college basketball at its core, and like, do I like watching Virginia and Wisconsin? No, not at all. But to me, that's part of what makes college basketball is that you have differing styles, and like, coaches can mold their program a certain way, and like it doesn't, like, it's not that it doesn't work. Virginia won a national title kind of playing with a super slow pace, and Wisconsin's been a good Big Ten program playing with a slow pace, and like Loyola is a huge X's and O's team, and they've had success. And I think that if you cut 6 seconds off the shot clock, it takes away from the core of college basketball, which is the differing styles. Because I mean, teams will still play different, but Virginia, Wisconsin, and Loyola, and they can't be those programs. And I think that like that hurts the game a bit, because I think that in the NBA there's differing styles, but it's not to the degree that there is in college. And I think that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. So if your argument against this is that college basketball is awesome because it's unique and that everyone does their own different things and finds ways to be successful while doing that, I wouldn't argue with you on that. I have a hard time arguing with that because I do agree with that. Like, I think it's really cool that you can turn on, someone like Kentucky who has a lot of athletes, but still kind of plays in a traditional sense a little bit where they still have post ups with bigs. Like, I think that's kind of cool. But then you can also turn on a program like, I don't know, like Arizona last year. Like the way they played was super entertaining. And I think America like fell in love with that Arizona team because they were so fun to watch and the way they played. And I don't know, like I just think that basketball in general is more entertaining when it's played with movement and it's played with space and it's played in different ways that force kids to actually be like good at the sport at multiple things. Where like if you have a 24-second shot clock and you have someone on the court who legitimately can't shoot, like that player is a huge detriment to what you want to do. And obviously that's true with the 30-second shot clock too. But if you have a 24-second shot clock, you kind of need everyone on the court to be able to do everything offensively because you don't know if they're going to get stuck with the ball at the end of the shot clock and they need to get a shot up or they need to find an open man on a screen or a short roll or whatever it is to get a shot off. And or that even extends to like handling the ball and getting to the rim and finishing at the rim. And like I think if you develop all those things, that's great for the sport because then everyone just gets better and it elevates what we all watch. Like I don't understand why you couldn't see Wisconsin or Virginia just use 22 of the 24 seconds and a program that plays faster like in Arizona or like an Arkansas or Alabama use 5 to 10 seconds of the shot clock. Like I still think you can still have some of those principles, but at the same time, I think you see the overall floor of the game be elevated because you're going to see so many more talented players and skilled players on the court. And I think that's a good thing.
I think that with the 24-second shot clock, you want to see ball movement and like spacing. I think it could go. I think it could go the other way. I think we're gonna, especially early on, like the growing pains early would be bad because there would be a lot of possessions that end in like, oh wait, we had 6 less seconds. Okay, Geo Baker, please hoist one from 30 feet. We like don't have an offense.
And you know what? Those are going to go in like Steph's do every now and then. It's going to be entertaining.
But you just said you want to see the ball move. Like I think we're going to get a lot of those possessions early on. And the reason it works in the NBA is because those guys are so skilled that you have 5 seconds left in the shot clock. Like there's just so many guys in that league you can feed it to with 5 seconds and be like, go get a bucket. And that's not necessarily the case in college. And I know, like you said, if we start this earlier and we get guys, we implement the shot clock thing earlier, it could lead to some positive development. But I'm just not worried about the development of American youth basketball right now. Like are other countries catching up? I honestly don't know. I think great players are coming from other countries as the world expands. Like we're getting Jokic's and Doncic's and Wembanyama's, but I think those guys are just, freak basketball players.
Yeah, and I don't want to be the guy that says that those guys are what they are because of the 24-second shot clock, because I think that was kind of a thing that was mentioned on Twitter, and I'm not going to be one of those people.
No, I think those guys are all, Wembanyama's a freak with his body. Luka and Jokic are like two of the smartest players I've ever seen. So it's a lot of outstanding factors, but I just don't want to mess with the development of American basketball right now. And it's like the EYBL has a shot clock, the UAA and Adidas have a shot clock. And I think it does help kids like get ready for college, but I think every high school in America or every high school game in America should have a shot clock, even if it's 35 seconds. Like I agree that stuff helps, but I like the way the college game is now. I don't want to see a few years of growing pains as we get it down to 24. And like, could Gonzaga and Duke play a 24-second shot clock game? Yeah. Could, Kentucky and North Carolina? Absolutely. Could like IUPUI and
Chicago State.
Wright State? Yeah, IUPUI and Chicago State. Like that would hurt those programs too, because those kids are not professional basketball players. Like I think Fran Fraschilla was comparing the Euro, some of the Euro League to like the top college teams. And I agree, those top college teams are like similar, but the guys on like low mid majors are just not professional players that probably couldn't handle it. And I don't want to have like 24 seconds in the ACC and 30 seconds in the Missouri Valley.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a very good way to look at it. Like if you think that mid-major conferences aren't going to be able to handle it and those players aren't talented enough to handle it, then like don't do it, obviously, because you do need an even playing field, because once you get to the postseason, it needs to be even. So players aren't adjusting and programs aren't adjusting to a totally different set of rules. And I think this does expand. And you made a really good point there. Like high schools need a shot clock across the United States. Like we're both from Illinois, right? I think there is a shot clock maybe coming to Illinois high school basketball. I'd have to look at that up. But I think I remember reading that might be happening. But we all have watched Illinois high school basketball teams hold the ball for a minute and a half at certain points in the game on an offensive possession. And that doesn't help anyone. Like that doesn't help kids offensively develop. It sure as heck doesn't help kids defensively develop, because you get lazy by the end of it and you're like, I just want to get back on offense, or I just am tired of guarding, or you have a lapse. Like that doesn't help anyone. And I don't think that is how the game is meant to be played. Like the game is meant to be played with ball movement. People talk like basketball is the most beautiful game because of the ability for people to move and the ball to never stick and those things. Like that's when basketball's at its best. And it's really frustrating when you go watch a high school basketball game anywhere and someone holds the ball for a minute and a half. Like that's hurting kids. And that's not even good coaching. Like put together some sort of scheme to score within 35 seconds. And if you can't put a scheme together, or score, or shoot within 35 seconds, then find someone else to coach because you're
Or
not.
if you don't have one player within 35 seconds who can beat your man and create an
Yeah.
advantage.
Like if you don't have that, then find someone who can coach a team to find that because that's not that hard to do. Like you and I could coach it, and I don't even know X's and O's of basketball. Like you could go coach a high school program and get a shot off within 35 seconds without a doubt at any level.
I think so. I would just look up like good quick hitters, Spain pick and roll.
What country?
Spain pick and roll.
Oh, so who are you stealing from? What's the shot clock?
Hey, they have good X's and O's. They do have good X's and O's, but the European game needs good X's and O's because they don't have like the freak young athletes that our country has. And like you instill those, if you instill those concepts into our country at a young age, it would make for better team basketball. But I think like part of the reason guys develop into stars is because a guy like Anthony Edwards can just get the ball in his hands and learn how to kind of be a star and always have the ball. Like I think it goes both ways. I think it would help, it would help like the base of the country and like role players all around the country, like become better basketball players, become smarter. But I think we have a lot of stars and those are guys that need the ball in their hand a ton. Like, I'm thinking about like EYBL Trae Young. And if he was like playing in like a system, like that wouldn't be great for him. He became Trae Young.
But don't you think Trae Young would adapt?
But I don't think he like him getting the ball in his hands and being able to try crazy shit and run a ton of pick and roll and take some crazy shots. I think it helped develop like who he was as a superstar because that's kind of what he does now in the NBA.
I don't know. I just think that
if he's playing an equal opportunity offense, I don't think that helps him as much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but I think it helps the game. And my goal is like help the game, not help individual players, and not to sound like an old man, get off my lawn kind of thing. But like, I'm the type of person that wants to see like no one person is bigger than the game of basketball. Wow, that makes you sound old. And I am 23 now, so
you do sound like an old head here. I'll give you that.
I don't think. Do I really sound like an old head?
I think you do because like
I don't want to sound like an old head.
I'm saying give Anthony Edwards the ball every time and let him like attack high pick and roll and get to the rim and like don't make him play an emotion offense. And you're saying you want to see the ball swung. And like I agree if it's role players, like, hey, high school me would have loved playing in like a European style system, but I'm not Anthony Edwards.
I don't know. I just think it would be better for the game overall. And I think players would adapt. And I think it would also force coaches to like actually like develop things and like get creative, and it would just help the game overall. So that's how I feel with it. And I understand that there's people who do feel differently with it, and that's okay. It's a complicated situation. And if you implement a 24-second shot clock and it blows up in your face, it's hard to go back to a 30-second shot clock. But I don't really remember there being a huge issue when college basketball went from a 35-second shot clock to a 30-second shot clock. The issue is that there seems to be a really big difference between, 30 seconds and 24 seconds compared to 35 seconds and 30 seconds.
Yeah, I agree. I just kind of remember like one day younger me was like, oh, it's 30 seconds now. And that was that. But that's 6 seconds between 30 and 24, I think would make a big difference. And
because by the time you get the ball over the half court line, it's 20.
I think you'd start to then you see teams like fake 2-2-1 pressing to at least like make you burn 6 seconds to get it over. All of a sudden, like we're at 18 to score. Like it would be tough. It could be developed, but again, fundamentally, I'm a satisfied person. I love college basketball. Like if I want to watch the most skilled, quicker game, then I will watch the NBA. But like I like college for the fact that it's not that.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really good way to like wrap this up, is that if this turns college basketball into the NBA, I think it would turn a lot of fans off, because I think there's a lot of people who don't like the NBA because it is the way it is. But I also think that there's a charm with college basketball that the NBA will never have, and that people who go to a certain school will always watch that school, or they'll always have some sort of association with that school. And the environment of a college basketball game is just fun to watch. It's fun to watch North Carolina going to Cameron Indoor and see the camera crazies going berserk, or it's really fun to see everyone in Allen Fieldhouse just jumping up and down in what looks like a sea of blue. Like that's just really cool, and that's something that doesn't exist in the NBA, and that's something that it can never duplicate. So if your argument is you want to keep college basketball unique from what goes on in the NBA and what goes on across the country or across the world, I guess I should say, in basketball, that's fine. And I won't argue with that because I love what it is. But I just think there's ways to make it better. And maybe there's other ways to make it better that smarter people than I am can kind of figure out.
Yeah, figure out the block charge.
Yeah, that
That's
being at the top of the list. Good call there.
there we go.